Now that we've got the time-based tracking happening, we can switch over to the next one, which is distance-based. For this one, we need to know where the player was after they have moved a certain amount, and how much they have been moving overall in total. So let's go to our Analytics Manager, and we will find our player path time-based. Go into that one and copy-paste the method. And call it distance-based. And put in distance-based here as well. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Distance-based. The player path is going to be player path distance. I don't know why I've named this thing differently in every single method. I could have just kept it the same. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so what do we want to have in this one? We want to have the player position X, Y, Z. We need to know the distance accumulative and the distance threshold. If we're going to do that, we should put in here a distance-based accumulative and a distance-based threshold. I'm going to copy-paste you here and copy-paste you here so that I can cut them both and then go up to the top and put in public float player path distance based threshold and player path distance based accumulative. There. Alright, so what do we need to do for this one? Inside of our reset analytics, we should take our player path distance based accumulative and set it back to 0.0f. And where are we going to call this thing from? So update can't keep track of it because it's not I guess we could do it with update. Update could constantly check with the level and say where was the player in the last position in the last update and where's the player now. That could work, but I'm not going to do that. We're going to put it into player, into move to target. So if we come into player and we look at the left click, we don't want to have to, left click doesn't know how far the player has moved, whereas update movement says if we are moving, then I will move to the target. If we look at move to target saying I know how far the player has moved every single time.
Yes.
I can tell this is where the player movement happens, so from here we could figure out how far it has moved. So we'll put in here at the start of it, vector 3 position before. Okay. I'll just call it position before. Pos before is equal to transform.position. So what's the current position? Stick it into a new vector 3. Then after we have moved, but before we've done the snapping of points, no, we probably go after the snapping of points. We'll put it in here. And we'll say, we know the position afterwards, so we could say float distance moved is equal to what I'm looking for here, vector 3 dot length distance. What I'm doing. This takes in 2 positions, so we can put in position before and transform dot position, so where we currently are now, and now we have a distance moved. We could say let's pass this off to the analytics manager. Analytics manager dot instance dot distance. I forgot to actually make the method public. We'll get there. Where is it? Distance based public.
Nice.
Okay, well, this one dot distance based, and you could be passing in distance moved.
Nice.
Great. Now it's whinging at me to say, but I don't take in that type of thing, so we'll jump over to you and we'll put in a float and call it distance moved. So now we better do a pre-check to say, have we moved far enough that we should actually be triggering this event? And we can essentially just copy and paste this whole piece of code here. Which this piece of code was the should we be triggering the time-based one. It's got all the same values. We're just changing time to distance. So we can say if we're currently in the playing state, we don't really need that because the player can't be moving unless they're in the playing state.
Yes.
But we'll leave it in there anyway. So here, current time, we're going to put in distance based. I love this auto completion thing. I just have to put in a thing and it goes, oh, figure it out for you. Thank you.
IntelliSense is great.
That's the word, IntelliSense. Distance based threshold.
You already got threshold.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Distance based accumulative, and not time dot delta time. We want these to be distance moved. All right, so now we can say we need to keep track of how far have we been moving every single time. So we'll come up to current time and we'll add another one in here for distance based current
distance,
current interval.
Okay.
We could word that one better. What would we call it? Distance based current value.
Current position.
No, it's a tracker of
current.
I'm gonna go with current value.
Okay.
If you've got something better, then I'm all for it. I am all for a better name than that. But let's move on with life.
Yeah, I don't know.
Here. So accumulative is going to be plus equal to distance moved. Threshold is not going to be plus equal to. It's going to be the new one that we just had. So distance based current move.
Current amount.
Current move amount.
There we are. You love your long variable names.
Descriptive. Yep.
Yep. Not
None of this, just P.
Oh, what? No, X. Everything X.
Code obfuscation. Rightio. So we're going to say every time you have moved a little bit more, let's keep track of how far you've moved. We'll also keep track of the overall amount that you've been moving.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll go into this one and say if the current move amount is bigger than the distance-based threshold, then we will do our tracking event. So we'll move everything inside of this one, and we'll say current move amount is equal to 0. But that means we should here. If we're playing the level, we'll keep track of how far we're moving every single time. Then we'll say we have moved far enough. Let's actually do the tracking event.
Yeah.
And then we will reset it back to 0.
Sounds good.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Great. Alright, let's go back to player, because player should be taking care of everything in here. Yes, player is already checking. It's calling it by saying how far it's moved. Let's go back to Analytics Manager and expand out distance based. I just want to make sure I've called everything correctly in here. P, distance, cumulative distance, threshold, time-based player. Player, path, distance based. We'll keep track of we have just triggered another one of these events. Okay, cool. So that should be everything we need for this one. Let's go to Unity and test it out. Before we test it out, we're going to have a lot of the threshold, got to set it. We're going to have a lot of events firing off in here for time-based and click-based, and hopefully we'll see the distance. We might introduce a bunch of variables into this to turn on and off each individual tracking type. The distance-based threshold, we'll set that to 5. 5 should be good enough. So every time you move 5 units, send off the tracking event. Let's play, and I could make that easier if I took the time-based and set that to something really long, because we're not going to be playing for 50 seconds. Go. Yeah, we are triggering the distance based.
Oh, cool.
Every
5 units
chunk of thing. If we watch over here, we're currently at 2.8. So as we move across to the other side, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, and we can see it's keeping track of it.
Sweet.
And our time base is just continuing on. So the reason I quickly checked time base to 50 is because if we set that to 2, and then we try and watch them all in here, you can see them all firing, but they're just kind of there's a lot in there.
Yeah.
It's kind of ugly. As soon as you start clicking around the place and then you get spotted by the enemy, there's a lot of logging going on right now. Okay, cool. So that is enough for this video, I think. Any questions or thoughts, Nick?
No, it's pretty cool.
Awesome. All right, see you in the next video, everyone.